Hi, this is Georgia from Georgia State Line with John Broughton on KC Radio 97.7 FM.
He says it is time to think on the years that we've spent.
Just a little bit of background before we talk about the record, if that's okay.
Yeah, no worries.
I believe we have your grandparents to thank for your discovery of the music that you've grown to love.
Yeah, my grandparents loved country music when I was growing up. They would always recommend me different artists to check out. And growing up, I'd spend a lot of time, staying at my grandparents' house while my mum was a night duty nurse for the majority of my life growing up. So I'd spend a lot of hours there, and I would always watch the Foxtel or Star Country Music Channel and see what new videos were out. And I was always fascinated by it.
Do you think eventually you would have been drawn to the same type of music anyway, regardless of your grandparents' input?
That's a good question. Who knows? There was a part of me that was fascinated growing up by it, but there was also a part of me that because it was merely my grandparents and my parents' kind of recommendations, I would naturally go, no, I'm not listening to this. This is terrible, just on the basis of my parents' and my grandparents' recommendations. It could have come from someone else, and I'd be like, oh, maybe, okay, I'll check it out. But when you're that age, I think you just naturally ignore it. But who knows, hey? I think when I started songwriting, it was just a natural progression for me to want to write in a genre. It's just something that happened to come out when I attempted songwriting.
You also had a bit of a classical music background initially. Tell us about that and anything you took from that experience that has carried you across well into the music you're doing now.
Yeah, so I grew up studying classical voice and violin. I think for me, studying classical voice firstly was such an amazing foundation. You really learn how to use your instrument, and it was just a really great. I'm such a curious person. I really love learning, and learning classical voice, you just learned about different time periods of music and a bit of languages in there as well. So it was really interesting for me to learn. But learning violin, I think for me, it wasn't such a genre thing. It was very classical that I was learning. It wasn't like I was like, oh, I'm going to learn classical violin and then I'm going to convert to country music. I found it really hard to play violin or fiddle in the country genre. It was very fast and it was very virtuistic, and it was something that I was really foreign to. But I think for me, when you're playing violin, it's a lot of the time, obviously there's different techniques to play numerous notes at one time, but a lot of it is individual notes on the stave that you're reading. Mm-hmm. So I think for me, I was thinking very much in terms of melodies. I'd go to bed kind of singing the notes of what I was needing to play for violin. And for me, I think that's really impacted how I write now. I'm always melody driven. I really want to write a melody that stays in your head and is catchy, and I want to write something that's really annoying for you. You know, you can't get it out of your head. I want to be that person.
Now, Bendigo Girl, initially, and you were playing live there before you made the move to Melbourne. What would have been on a typical set list on your, if you caught up with you back in Bendigo?
Back in Bendigo, I was playing in a few different folk bands. It was a little bit folkier, and I had violin in the lineup as well. I think when I moved to Melbourne and I studied a music degree, I really found a lot of confidence in kind of pushing myself to the front and having enough courage to be heard. So that was a big turning point where I kind of put the violin down and I stopped playing, which is a shame. I really loved playing violin, but for me, it was kind of a big moment where I had a shift in focus and direction for myself as a creative. I really kind of stepped to the front and took initiative to sing my own songs and kind of have a little bit more creative control. And that's where I kind of formed Georgia State Line out of.
Were you writing a lot back home in Bendigo, or was it that really didn't come into play till you came to Melbourne?
I was still writing a lot in Bendigo, but I was writing with another band, so it wasn't 100% me and my style. I think I bent a lot to try and fit the kind of aesthetic or whatever, not genre, but whatever kind of sound that band had at the time. I think I kind of was trying to write something with that in mind. And now when I write, I don't think, oh, I have to write something that's going to fit my sound. It naturally happens. And I think that's just happened by finding my truth and finding by being me a little bit more genuine in how I approach songwriting now.
So when you located to Melbourne, you were looking for musicians to work with. Were there any specific qualities you were looking for in a musician to make them someone you'd want to collaborate and work alongside?
Yeah, it's such a hard thing. Obviously, there's many different hats you have to wear as a musician and a songwriter. And obviously, you want to be working with people and collaborating with people who are passionate about what you do, and equally as passionate about your songs. And now I'm working with Patrick Wilson, Laura Baxter, and Tom Brooks in the band. And it's a really nice feeling when we step on stage. You feel comfortable, I think, and free because you know everyone's got each other's backs. And that's a really nice thing to have. It's also important as a musician to work with people who are, it takes so much time. So time is a great commodity to have. Not a lot of people have it, but sometimes it helps. and someone just fun to be around. There's a lot of traveling, there's a lot of driving, there's a lot of hours. Isn't that some kind of quote where like being a musician is all about waiting for like an hour of actually playing the show. So it's a lot of time spent in each other's pockets and actually having like close company with everyone. So I think, it's hard to tick all those boxes. I mean, when we first started playing, the band was formed out of me finishing my music degree, and I kind of pulled the band together with people that I had studied with, and just natural progression, life happens, and the band lineup changed a bit, and it is what it is now.
Mm-hmm. It's such an exciting time and a pivotal moment in any artist's career, getting that debut album out there, your first full-length release, but releasing it into a world where you're stifled as to how you can go out and promote it with live gigs being not really a thing at the moment. It must be incredibly frustrating.
Yeah, it's frustrating because you don't have that same, I was going to say level of enjoyment, I think, because you spend so many hours on the computer and you kind of lose touch of what it's all about, which is connection and community. And that's the thing that I know myself and so many other musicians in similar circles do it for, because, if there's no one there to receive the songs and just connect on a emotional level, then you really miss the heart and soul of what you do. But it's at the same time it's been good having more time to like really think about how you want to portray these songs in a digital space. I've learned a lot, but at the same time I'd love to be playing shows for sure. I do miss it.
I believe it was actually 2 years since these recordings were made. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So we have been holding on to these songs for a little while now, and it feels very, very freeing for them to be finally out. It's a big exhale. However, I was saying to someone the other day that we've spent so long, building up momentum and getting these songs ready to be released, but you don't really, and you just kind of power through. You're like, okay, I've got to push, I've got to get to the finish line. And then you get there and you release them, and then you go, oh, I didn't really prepare for people to listen to them. It feels weird. But yeah, it's a good feeling, and I'm happy we held off in the pandemic. But I mean, the early days, we just didn't know what was happening then, in 2020 when we were going to actually release it.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing, I think, for me to step away from the songs and then step back into them and still enjoy them. I think that's been a nice little achievement for myself.
Do you see any of these songs in a different light now? They are 2 years old. Do you relate to them
Yeah,
any differently?
yeah, I think so. I mean, I feel like I'm a very different person now to who I was when I wrote them, and um, I I can reflect on the sentiment maybe with a different lens of the place I'm in now to when I did write them. Um, yeah, I'm grateful for uh, having the album. Yeah, it feels it's a lot of emotions when you write an
Yeah.
album. Yeah,
Talk
yeah.
about where the album was made, up at James Cecil's studios up in the Macedon Ranges. I checked out his website. It looks like a wonderful environment to work in, really tranquil surroundings.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I wanted for this record. I really wanted a space which was really conducive to being very free and creative, and I really wanted to take my time with it, which we took our time with it. We did, I can
Sure
tell you
did.
that. Um, but yeah, we went down. Everyone in the band works another job, so we pretty much spent every weekend over a 2-month period, Friday to Sunday, sleeping at the studio, recording there. And also there's a little hall that's right near Super Melody Studios called Kerry Hall. And we hired that and we did majority of the tracking, and we got a lot of natural reverb because of how beautiful the hall is.
Mm.
And that was really lovely. And it was everything I wanted out of an album. I really wanted to feel that we looked at all options in terms of what we were creating on the day, and then we could pick and choose and go, oh, I really love that sound. And it was such a creative time, but it was also very collaborative. Everyone in the band, as well as James, all shared production roles, and yeah, that was something that I really wanted. I think I'm so lucky to work with such creative minds that if I was to just say I want it this way and ignore everyone else's opinion, then that would be a great loss, because they're so good at what they do. It needs to be seen and heard.
Now, James's background is not specifically in country-inspired music. Was that a prerequisite for you to work with someone who could give another perspective rather than just be boxed into that country genre?
Yeah, for sure. That was a conscious decision that I made. We actually met James at a gig that we're playing at the Macedon pub one time. He came up and was like, oh, because I think I must have said something like, oh, we'll be getting back in the studio, or we'll be looking at doing an album, because at that time we had recorded 2 songs with someone else in Melbourne. And whilst they're great and we enjoyed recording there, it still wasn't meeting my expectations as to what I wanted out of recording an album in the space that we were doing it in. And yeah, it just happened very naturally. Like, James was in the audience, and then he was like, oh, I have a studio out here if you want to check it out. And then we must have checked it out while we're down there, and then we're like, okay, when can we come? And so yeah, James has a background in a lot of pop indie stuff. He used to play in Architecture in Helsinki, which are very big pop band. I used to love Architecture in Helsinki. And I was like, oh, wow, that's cool. But I definitely wanted to have someone else outside the country genre to bring a new kind of take on the songs that we already were very confident in playing as a band. So we did take a lot of our live arrangements and what we would usually play on stage into the studio, but tweaked it a little bit here and there. And because everyone that I'm working with has a solid foundation in the country genre, I feel like I was very confident that we could still stay true to traditional country with a bit of progressive country, and some contemporary sounds mixed in with it.
You're asking me for a description of the album. I would call it a very honest and sincere collection of songs. Are they two qualities that you take particular pride in achieving in your songwriting?
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it is. I think, I try to be an honest person. I have a bad experience with like acting, like drama classes in high school because I just can't do it. I'm very bad at pretending, and I think it's honest, and I'm very appreciative that you think that too.
Your first album is the opportunity for an artist to get out that first impression, for want of a better term. What impression were you hoping, or are you hoping people will get from you or about you after hearing this batch of songs?
As you said, honest, and I think all these songs, stories and maybe slightly exaggerated versions of stories that have happened to me or people I know, and when I write, it's a bit of a reflective process, and something that I use to make sense of things that have happened, or my many anxious spirals of thinking and thought patterns. But for me, even though all of the songs maybe are born from a very specific thing or experience, the sentiment is very universal. And I think for In Colour, it was all about recognizing where you are in life, and even if you're not happy with it, just finding things that you can be grateful for, and something to hold on to. And I think the songs, for me, I want people to know that we're all very similar, even though we don't get to choose our circumstances in life. There's many different things that actually separate us in terms of how we feel and emote. We're all pretty the same in that sense.
Nice and simple approach to the cover art. Just a nice portrait there of yourself enjoying an ice cream. Was there any particular message or point you wanted to get across there with that simplistic approach?
Yeah, that photo was taken by a good friend of mine and photographer named Isabella Doherty. She's an artist based out of Castlemaine, close to Bendigo, where I grew up. We actually went to high school together, and she's a great photographer now. But I have a tattoo of an ice cream on my ribs, a tiny little ice cream, and it no one's actually asked me this before. But yeah, it's a tiny little ice cream, and I got that tattoo when I was 18 years old with a friend. And I don't know, it's just like it wasn't intentional. It just turned out, and I was like, oh, it makes so much sense that I did this because, I think for me, when I got that tattoo, it was me being very reckless, and me and my friend, we're just catching up, and we're like, let's do something really crazy. Let's go get a tattoo. and so that was the first thing that we did. And we're like, okay, the first thing we see, we'll get it tattooed on our bodies, and we got an ice cream. It could have turned out very badly. The first thing that we saw could have been something terrible. But that's what we did. And I think that echoes the sentiment of just enjoying the little things in life.
Yeah, I have a feeling there might be a story behind it.
Love it. Thanks for asking. That's no one's asked that.
So are you comfortable with that Americana tag being applied to your work?
I guess so. It appeases the people who are very traditional country minded. So there's some songs on the album I feel like that would really please those people who are very strong in traditional country and not really deviating from that name. So I think it would appease the people who are that way minded if we more called ourselves Americana, because it would kind of make room for the more contemporary sounds that we do present. But yeah, I don't really know. Hey, it's I say country music, but a lot of the stuff that we play now, because we do have a lot of new songs that I hope to not spend so long in between recording now, because we took so long with this album. But I think a lot of the sounds, they do have that little bit of traditional country nuance, but I would still say they're progressive. And for me, when I write music, I think of all the people that inspired me, all the iconic greats of the genre. But I think you need to build upon what's already done, and I hope that with my music I kind of present something that you can feel the influences in, but presented in maybe a different light, and say some things that maybe have already been said, but say it in a different way to connect with a new demographic. But yeah, it's country music, it's Americana, it's whatever you want to be, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not too bothered by it. I know other people are, but I'm not.
Tell us about your bandmates, the other players on the album.
Yeah, so we've got Tom Brooks, who plays pedal steel, electric guitar, mandolin, nylon string guitar. They're all things on the album. He played a little bit of bass on a few earlier songs that we recorded. He plays lots of stuff. He is an amazing player, as is Patrick Wilson on drums and different percussion instruments. And Laura Baxter, who's an amazing vocalist, really helped me arrange the backing vocals on the record. And she plays bass and banjo on the record too. They're all such intuitive, inspiring players. They're equally as accomplished in their own individual projects, and they also play with a few bands around Melbourne. I met Pat when I was studying at uni, and then he joined the band, and then we were recording our first EP, Heaven Knows, in 2017, and I really wanted pedal steel on the record, and unfortunately there's not a lot of pedal steel players around Melbourne.
No, there's not.
No, but one of our old guitarists, he knew Tom, and Tom came in for a session, and I asked him to join the band, and he said yes, and he stuck around, which has been amazing. And he's grown into a very close friend. And Laura Baxter came on when I was doing some intern work for her housemate, and I was like, oh, we need another bandmate, and just met Laura, and she's got an incredible voice. And for me, when I write music, I'm always thinking about the melody and the voice. So it's such a privilege to work with her, because I get those things all ticked away, and then I put the music behind it. And Tom and Pat are just so great at what they do.
It seems to be the trend these days to drop a few singles out there before the album release, and you chose Every Time was the first single for you off this album?
Yeah,
right?
So technically it was the first one this year, but because there was such a delay in between the first singles, we actually released Dry My Tears in 2018, but we did like a bit of a remix with the mix and re-recorded a few parts for the album version. But that was 2018, and in 2019 we did From Down Here, and that was going to be the single right before the album dropped. But obviously plans changed and life happened, and we had to hold on a bit longer. But Every Time was the first single this year.
Right.
So, yeah.
Is there any one particular song on the record that you would consider the centerpiece of the album, one that more than any other signifies the overall theme?
I think Bluebird is kind of one end of the spectrum, and In Colour obviously being the title track. I think everything between Bluebird, not in terms of track listing, but in terms of sentiment, Bluebird was written after a time I had a really terrible experience at a workplace, and it was kind of like thinking, will it get better from this? Like, what can I do? Feeling pretty hopeless. And then In Colour is maybe the epitome of being hopeful. And for me, that's that ebb and flow of everything that changes in life and the inconsistencies and the constants and unpredictabilities. For me, those two songs are the bookends of the album.
Yeah. Now, as I say in the classics, the first album is the easy one because you have a lifetime's worth of songs there to draw from. The second album is the one that's the true test of a songwriter's strength. And I'm guessing since these songs are all at least 2 years old, you must have a nice little stash of new stuff tucked away, ready to go.
I do. I'm so excited to record the next one and build upon everything that we've kind of laid down with In Colour. I just hope that we can release it maybe in a year's time rather than 2 years. But yeah, we'll see. Hopefully.
And what about touring, Georgia? Are you making any tentative plans in the hope that it's all going to open up soon, or are you just biding your time?
We might potentially look at doing a Melbourne show at the end of the year if it's possible, but it's really just depending on what happens. You know, we want to go ahead safely and we want people at the show to feel comfortable, especially as performers too. We don't want to be that's just an extra worry that you have when you're just trying to do your job. So yeah, we'll just see how it goes, and next year hopefully Tamworth will be there if that goes ahead. Hopefully, I believe it should. We'll be there if it's possible for people in Victoria to go. And yeah, we'll just see how it is. When we can do shows, we'll definitely be there.
Beautiful. Well, congratulations on a wonderful first instalment in your album discography, and no doubt there's many more wonderful instalments to come. It's a fabulous piece of work, and no doubt you're obviously very proud of it, and so you should be.
Thank you so much. Such a pleasure to chat with you today.
You too. Thanks a lot, Georgia. Take care.
Thank you. You too.
Bye. Bye.